Chapter 3. Angel. Now I've told you for the last time. Either you clean your room or you will be grounded. Now do as you're told, lad. The boy's adoptive mother said. About 5 years prior, after an unexplained accident, Angel, at the age of 7, was adopted by Ellen and Larry Bauer. In all aspects, the new member to the family was extremely happy and a very active child. In fact, the only problem that there really was a large amount of nightmares. Also, something else that didn't help was a birth deformity that had caused his upper canine teeth to be extremely long compared to the others. Teasing, from other children, didn't help the preteen's attitude towards chores. I cleaned it once already. Why the hell should I clean it again? Angel snapped back as he crossed his arms and stomped his feet. Now watch your mouth. Larry spoke up as he looked over the top of his newspaper. You will not use that tone of voice with us, and you will watch your language. Larry was excited about adopting the orphan, but he had never imagined that one day the boy would turn into the person that he had become. Standing up, as he folded the paper back to its original form, Larry walked towards Angel and then only stopped as he was toe-to-toe with him. Looking down at Angel, whose nose was right to his chest, he lowered the tone of his voice as he continued. Now, go back to your room and finish cleaning it. Without saying another word, Angel pivoted himself, on one foot, as he walked back into his room. Immediately Angel went into the room and sat down on the edge of his bed. As he did so, Larry only took one step into the room, and that was only to close the door. Why should I always keep my room clean? Angel thought to himself. All that these people want me for is to be their personal maid service. Standing up off of the mattress, Angel walked over to the window and looked out across the street. Okay, Grandpa Miguel. We'll play it your way. With this thought, Angel grabbed a hold of the curtains, on either side of the window, and jerked real hard, causing them and their rod to fall to the floor. May I help you? A secretary asked at the desk. Yeah. My name is Belinda DeClue. And this is my husband Ronnie DeClue. I've got an appointment with Dr. Redding today, Belinda said as she carefully held her stomach. She had some consistent pains to the abdomen area mixed with nausea. Wanting some answers, Ronnie made an appointment with Dr. Redding. Well, how about you fill this out and bring it back to me when you're done? The secretary said as she handed Ronnie a clipboard with a pen tethered to the clip. They must be afraid that someone is gonna come into the hospital, with a predetermined plan, to steal this pen, Ronnie joked. Repeatedly, for the last 3 days, since Belinda's aches started, Ron had tried anything and everything to get Belinda to smile. About half the times he succeeded, yet every time he felt that she had at least tried to smile. It only took about 10 minutes, after returning the clipboard and pen, before the secretary had called Belinda's name. Ronnie. Please come with me. Belinda requested. Well, of course. He responded and then grasped her hand as they walked past the desk, and then into an exam room that the secretary had led them to. In the examination room, there was a bed, or at least what perhaps would resemble a bed, a stool on wheels, and a counter with about 5 drawers, a sink, different canisters on top of the counter, an overhead cabinet, and labels on each drawer and door on the above cabinet. After about 20 minutes, well after Belinda and Ron had felt that they had been forgotten about, Dr. Redding came in with them. Well, hi guys, it's been a while since I've seen you. The doctor said as he looked at Ron. Ron. It's been a while. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm married now. Can't believe how fast time slips between our fingers, Ron. I remember the day that you were born. Pausing as he quietly chuckled, you should have seen Malachi, you scared him so bad, he nearly ran up your guy's father's legs. Seems like just yesterday. The doctor continued. Well, Dr. Redding. Ron interrupted, Belinda is having some sort of long-term discomfort to her stomach. It's causing her to feel nausea. And lightheaded. Belinda added. Well, let's see. Dr. Redding said. Belinda, how about you go ahead and lay down on your back? This should be more relaxing to your stomach then, as Belinda did as he said. Dr. Redding then began to check her vitals and then probe her belly with a stethoscope. After at least 5 minutes of manipulating her abdomen and sides, he stopped and then walked over to the counter as he opened a drawer. "Would you mind, Belinda, if I drew some blood so that I could look at something?" Looking at Ron and then shrugging her shoulders, "No. I don't mind." "Is something wrong?" Belinda asked as she continued to stare at her husband. "No. Not wrong, just wanting to possibly confirm a suspicion on mine," Dr. Redding said as he turned to face Belinda. In his hands he had a vial and then also a syringe and tourniquet. After filling just the one vial, the doctor then left the examination room. "How are you feeling, hun?" Ronnie asked as he stood up from the stool and then walked over to her side. "I feel a little better when I'm laying down like this, but this is a little unpractical while I'm at work," Belinda responded as she reached out to hold Ronnie's hand. After 10 minutes or so, the doctor returned to the room with a slight smirk on his face. Since Ronnie was now standing next to Belinda, the doctor chose to sit on the stool as he held a paper in his hand. "Well, would you like the good news or the bad news first?" Even as he asked this question, he still had that silly smirk look that was quickly changing into a smile. "Well, how about the bad news first?" Belinda said as she sat up on the mattress. As she sat up, paper, that covered the bed, made a lot of noise up until she was holding still. "The bad news is that you could have found out what was wrong with you by just going to a grocery store or pharmacy. You didn't need to come to the hospital, guys." The doctor paused as he looked Ronnie in the face. "What you needed to do is arrange for a baby shower." Instantly, both Ronnie and Belinda looked at each other. You mean that I'm pregnant?" Belinda asked as she looked back at the door. With her question, Ronnie took her hand up in his as he also looked at the doctor. "Yep. And I would say that you're only about a week along also. What this means now, is that you..." As the doctor kept talking, both Ronnie's and Belinda's attention was elsewhere. "Need to avoid standing near someone that smokes, don't use alcohol, and... Are you currently on any medications?" "Ah. No. I'm not on any medications right now," Belinda said as she only paid direct attention to that question and then was, once again, in shock of the recent news. As the appointment came to an end, Ronnie and Belinda both headed out to the ambulance entrance where they parked their Hummer. Usually Belinda would do any daytime errands on her own, but with it being a medical issue, Ronnie wanted to be there, which meant, on a hot bright sunny day, that they had to park under the covered area of the building. As they pulled into the garage, next to Malachi's and Nicole's Hummer, they, hand in hand, quickly headed into the house. Since everyone was asleep when they entered, they decided, since it was daytime, that it would be a good time to call David and Karina. "Hello," Karina said as she answered the phone within the first 3 rings. "Hey Mom." "Oh, hi Ronnie. What are you still awake for? You should have been in bed 3 hours ago." "I had to take Belinda to the hospital this morning." "Is she all right?" Karina interrupted. "Yeah. Well, at first we thought that something was wrong. That's why I took her there in the first place." "Well, what did it turn out to be wrong?" "Well, let's put it this way. Dr. Redding said that we should have been putting our time into making plans for a baby shower rather than..." "She's pregnant?" Karina said real loudly. "David." She screamed into the receiver loud enough that Ronnie had almost dropped the phone. "Ronnie. Are you serious?" "Yeah, Mom. We just got home from the hospital. Belinda and I are excited also." "Well, that's great, Ronnie. I'm proud for you guys. As soon as your father comes back into the apartment, I'm gonna tell him too. Congratulations, Ronnie." "Alright. And thank you, Mom. We'll talk to you later. Belinda and I are gonna go back to bed until later tonight." "Okay, dear. Thank you for calling and letting me know. I love you, Ron." "I love you too, Mom. I'll talk to you later." With this, Ronnie hit the disconnect button on the phone and then went into the room with his wife. It was about 6 months later that Angel had woken up and found himself to be completely alone. Odd. He thought to himself. Not just because his adoptive parents had left him alone. That was almost routine. What he found to be odd is that he was left alone on his birthday. His 13th birthday at that. So, That's how important I am to them. He continued to think. I'll show them. Without even putting his clothes on, he exited his bedroom, in his pajamas, and then walked through the side door of the house that exited directly into the garage. On a constant move, like as if he had planned for this moment for many years, Angel moved around the garage grabbing different items as he moved along. In one corner of the garage, Angel grabbed an extension cord, an orange one that he immediately put over his right shoulder. Then, as he walked towards the back of the garage, he picked up a 20-gallon propane tank that he carried in his left hand. Walking back into the house, Angel set the tank and cord down on the kitchen floor. Opening up a drawer, on the far end of the kitchen counter, he quickly shuffled through its contents as he searched for an outlet adapter. An outlet that screwed into a light bulb socket. Then, as Angel quickly moved to another drawer, he pulled out a box of aluminum foil. Immediately, Angel went around the kitchen ripping curtains off of the windows. Then, as he pulled out long sheets of aluminum foil, he began to cover the windows, one at a time. Soon, there was hardly any light shining into the kitchen at all. Only some that was coming from the living room. He would cover those up when he's done with the kitchen. Going back to the drawer that he had found the outlet adapter in, he then pulled out a flashlight and then, once again, closed drawer. Turning the flashlight on, Angel set it on the kitchen table and then turned off the light, causing there to be almost pitch darkness. Pulling a chair out from the table, Angel quickly unscrewed the light bulb and then replaced it with the outlet adapter. Seconds later he jumped back down, to the floor, and uncoiled the extension cord. With the cord unraveled, he then grabbed the male end of the cord as he climbed back on top of the chair. Moments later, with the cord plugged in, Angel then jumped down to the floor and then pushed the chair back under the table. Searching for the other end of the cord, Angel quickly took a small piece of the aluminum foil, rolled it up, to where it looked like a wire, and then stuck one end down into the holes, on either side of the female end of the extension cord. Then, as he laid the cord down on the floor, he quickly turned the handle, on the propane tank, causing the gas to hiss its way out of the tank. Then, before leaving the kitchen, Angel grabbed the flashlight and then left, through the living room, where he closed the curtains, causing total darkness in the kitchen. Walking out the front door of the house, still in his pajamas, Angel kicked a pumpkin that sat on a step, marking the Halloween holiday that he shared his birthday with. "Hey Larry. Come over here and see this," Ellen said as she found a nice bicycle on a shelf all of its own. "I just know that he'll like this one." Walking over to his wife's side, Larry saw a single bike, standing aside from the others, with bright neon-colored paint over the entire frame. On either side of the front tire was a shock absorber with the letters IFS printed on them. As Larry took a closer look, he could also see that there was another shock absorber under the seat as well. "Well, it's fancy, that is what he likes," Larry said as he then also pointed down the aisle. "There are helmets and pads down there with the same neon colors on them. He has done his chores pretty well lately. Let's go ahead and buy them," Ellen said and then watched as Larry pulled a large box off of the shelf next to the pre-assembled bike. "I'll get those pads and helmet," Ellen announced as Larry centered the large box crosswise over the shopping cart. It was only about another 20 minutes later before Larry and Ellen were on their way home. They had left quietly, while he was asleep, in hopes to surprise him. Angel had a habit, a bad habit, of being extremely cooperative for a large period of time. Doing his chores, minding, and obeying house rules, and then he would go through a period of time of which he was extremely uncooperative. It was as if his entire being and spirit would turn into a demonic hair-raising creature that would, by the end of each day, had both Larry and Ellen scared to death and had them feeling as though they were walking on eggshells around the beast. As they pulled into the driveway, they opened the garage door, as usual by remote control, and then climbed out of the car. "Let's leave the bike in the car for now," Larry suggested, and then waited for Ellen to catch up with him before opening the door into the kitchen of the house. This way he would know that she was clear of the garage door so that he could close it. "You smell that, Larry?" Ellen asked as Larry popped open the door. Why is it so dark in here?" Then, in just that second, Larry turned on the kitchen light.
For those of you just turning into CNN, this morning. There was an explosion early this morning just within the northern suburbs of Grand Junction. This explosion had killed 2 adults and orphaned a 13-year-old boy that was out of the house at the time of the explosion. Investigators say that the explosion is suspicious and therefore are staying on the scene until state fire marshals arrive from Denver. This fire burned way too hot, destroying the entire residence before we could even put any water on it. Fire Chief Ron Munson said early this morning in front of the destroyed property. Also, there were items within the kitchen area of the home that were completely out of place, Monson said. In the meantime, the Family Independence Agency of Grand Junction is searching for any possible next of kin to where the child can live. It was such a nice family. A neighbor said as they watched area firefighters fight the blaze. I really feel sorry for that poor child. If you have any information into the investigation, you are urged to contact the Colorado Highway State Patrol at 1-970-555-3351. Now, for other news.
Oh, that dear child. Marie thought to herself as she stood up and then turned the television off. Opening up the apartment door, Marie looked up into the sky before stepping out into the cool air. She knew that she should have thrown on a coat, but decided against it as she only planned to walk to David's and Corina's apartment. Hey! Come on in, Mom. Corina could be heard through the door. Then, just as Marie opened the door, Corina was coming out of the kitchen as David was standing up from the couch. Did you hear about that explosion this morning? Marie asked David as she quickly sat down on a recliner. Yeah. David responded, I feel sorry for that poor kid. The CBS News said that those were his adoptive parents that were killed this morning. They said that his biological parents died in an accident a few years ago. I bet that the kid is gonna have problems connecting with any new people in his life later down the road. Well. Has anyone asked how Belinda is doing lately? Marie asked as an attempt to change the subject. It's been just over 4 months now that she's been pregnant. Her maternity leave should start on the 29th of December. Can't believe that she's got another 5 months to the due date. She's already getting humongous. Dave commented. Well, on the 10th of next month, she'll be having her first ultrasound. Corina spoke from the kitchen. Ronnie, Malachi, and Eddie are all taking bets on rather if it's gonna be a boy or a girl. I hope that it turns out to be a girl. Dave interrupted, we've got a grandson. Now all we need is a granddaughter. Well, Marie said, we'll all know soon enough. Even with a complete change in subject, for some reason, the news involving that orphaned boy was overwhelming every thought. About 8 days later, in fact on Ronnie's 19th birthday, Corina had walked into the Come and Go gas station, kitty corner from Safeway, when she had accidentally opened up her car door, hitting the vehicle next to hers. Lady! What the hell are you doing? A man, in his late teens or early 20s hollered. Running towards the car, from the doors of the gas station, the man continued to scream. Bitch! Who the fuck do you think you are? The man said as he got into Corina's face. Listen. I'm sorry. We can trade insurance information. I didn't mean to hit your car. Corina pleaded. Compared to Corina's stature, the man stood at least a good 2 to 3 inches over her. I'll pay for it, she continued. Lady. Just get away from my car. The man said in a much quieter tone and then walked around Corina as he climbed into his vehicle. As he started his car, and then put it in reverse, Corina watched the man speed away. For most of the day, Ronnie, Malachi, and Eddie had just remained in bed, as usual. What was not going as usual, however, is when Ronnie and Malachi had instantly became in tune to something that was happening. I don't know what's happening, guys. But I'm calling over to Mom's apartment, Ronnie said as he ran back into the bedroom and grabbed his cell phone. It was Ronnie's birthday, nothing less though. Him and Malachi had both felt what was similar to an ESB message, yet it was different. It was as if something was instantly wrong. Somehow, in some way that Malachi nor Ronnie could put into words, they knew that something was wrong with their mom. Hello, David said as he picked up the phone. Hey Dad. Oh hi Ronnie. Happy birthday bud, David said cheerfully. Thank you Dad. Dad. Is Mom home? Ron asked as he had also wondered how he might justify his phone call. Not right now Ron. She just went into town and then she's gonna head over to see you guys for your birthday. I'll be headed over there in about 10 minutes. Do you know where she went to, in town, Dad? I think to one of the gas stations, Ronnie. Why? What's going on? David asked as he became concerned about the worried tone in Ronnie's voice. Honestly, Dad, I don't know. Just a gut feeling, for some reason, that something might be wrong. Then, suddenly, Ronnie began to get flash pictures, almost like as if someone was forcing photographs into his line of vision, of. He wasn't sure. He was seeing flash pictures of his mom's car. Then the car door. He could see his mom's hand opening the car door. He could see. Hey Ronnie. Malachi screamed. Do you see what I'm seeing? Hey Dad. I'm gonna let you go. Just come on over. Alright? Ronnie said as suddenly he saw his mom's feet arrange themselves on their pedals. He could see her left hand manipulating the seat belt. Alright Ronnie. I'm headed over there. Okay buddy, Dave said suddenly. Alright Dad, Ron said, I'll see you in a couple minutes. Immediately, Ron disconnected the call. Hey Ron, Malachi said as he ran into Ron's room. As he entered the room, Ron was sitting on the edge of his bed rubbing his temples with his hands. I'm seeing. Like through Mom's eyes, Ron said out loud. So, you just watched her put on her seat belt? Malachi asked. Yeah. And now she's pulling out into the road. Onto Finley. Red light. She stopped at the red light. Okay. What's going on, Ronnie and Malachi? Nicole asked as she came into Ronnie's and Belinda's bedroom. What's happening, guys? We don't know. Malachi answered. For some reason Ron and I just began to get some strange images in our minds of our mom. It's like we're seeing through her eyes and we're both seeing the exact same things. You guys are predestined to protect her. Belinda interrupted. Could it have anything to do with that? Don't know. Ron answered. If what we're seeing is real, however, she should be about to pull into the driveway. Immediately Belinda went to the window and looked out. Sure enough, Karina was just pulling into the foot of the drive. Let's go and talk to her, Ronnie, Malachi said as he quickly left Ron's room. Instantly Ron was right on Malachi's heels. Then, just as Malachi was at the top of the steps, and Ronnie was about halfway between his bedroom door and where Malachi stood, they both got another image as Karina began to walk up a set of cement steps just prior to the front door of the house. The instant image almost caused Malachi to lose his step as he quickly clung onto the railing at the top of the stairs. I've got you, Ronnie said as he quickly wrapped his arms around his brother's torso. Just relax, she's gonna come into the house now. Then, no sooner than he had said it, the kid's mother opened the door and was looking up the stairs as Ronnie was holding his brother. What's going on, guys? Karina asked as she came in and closed the door behind her. As she continued to stare at her sons as she began to remove her coat, she was waiting for an answer when her question was answered with a question. Actually, Mom. What's going on with you? Ron asked all of a sudden as he simultaneously let go of his brother. What do you mean, what's going on with me? Ronnie? Karina said as she began to walk up the stairs. What happened to you at the gas station just now? Malachi answered for Ron. Ronnie and I just began to receive snapshot images, through your eyes, as you got into your car and then your drive up Finley Lane. Our last images were of you walking up the outside steps just now. And so I say again, Mom. What just happened at the gas station? I don't know. Karina began. I got out of the car, at the gas station, and then accidentally hit the car, next to mine, with my car door. Then, the owner of that car came out of the store yelling, swearing, and threatening. I tried to apologize. But, I think, that made the situation worse. I even offered to pay for it. Pay for it? Malachi repeated, I think that you've already paid a high price by having to deal with the bastard's attitude. Who was he? Ronnie interrupted. With the question, he then, also let go of his hold on his brother. I don't know, guys, Karina said with a tone, in her voice, that showed that she was getting tired of the interrogation. Let's just forget about it for now. The process of which the Family Independence Agency, or FIA, in Grand Junction had gone through for finding Angel's next of kin, was quite lengthy compared to most children. After about 2 days, however, they had researched Angel's family lines all the way back to a man named Miguel Sanchez, who was born in 1775. Obviously this person wasn't gonna get a chance to take custody of Angel. Through further research, it was found that this Miguel Sanchez had a daughter named Zelda, who was married to Roger Coleman, who then had a... Hey Cindy. Look at this. Angel's social worker said as she pointed at another birth record. Miguel Sanchez had 2 kids. Cindy said as they looked at another sheet of paper. Well, I wonder why this other sibling, Arnofonso, isn't on these papers? Cindy asked without expecting an accurate answer. Don't know. This Arnofonso had a daughter named Marie. Marie Sanchez? Cindy asked as she looked up to her co-worker. Yeah. How did you know that? She's alive. Cindy answered as she looked back at the older women. In fact, she also lives here in Colorado. Just north of here in Craig. And look at this. This Marie has a daughter. Named. Let's see here, she continued as she read the lines of a legal document towards the end of her index finger, Karina. Karina Declue. Right? Cindy shot out quickly. Yep. And then this Karina has 2 kids. And they are all living in Craig. Then, as she paused, she went back to Marie's name. Well. Here's the next of kin for Angel. Marie Sanchez. Bam. 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 Well. Who is that, Mom? Karina said as she had just arrived and sat down. I didn't see anyone outside when I walked over here. Don't know, hun. Just wait here. I'll go check, Marie said. She had just poured herself and Karina a cup of coffee and then was about to sit down when the pounding on the door started. Hello. She announced as she opened the door. Ah yes. Are you Ms. Marie Sanchez? A young woman asked as she held a file within her arms. As Marie looked at her, she then also looked at the vehicle parked next to her own. There were at least 2 additional occupants in it. Yeah, I am. Who's asking? Marie asked as she focused her eyes on the young women. The lady was perhaps about 5'3" and about 120 pounds. Possibly about mid-20s. My name is Barbara Young. I work for the Family Independence Agency of Grand Junction. You are the next of kin for a child named Angel Coleman. Ah, ma'am. Marie interrupted, you've got to be mistaken. All of my... You are the daughter to Arnofonso. Right? The lady counter-interrupted. This question seemed to snap an immediate look of attention into Marie's face. We'll see. Your dad's father, Miguel Sanchez, also had a daughter named Zelda. A few years ago Zelda and her husband died in an accident. When they died they left behind a young boy named Angel Coleman. Then, on October 31st, this past Halloween, he was orphaned again when his adoptive parents died in an explosion in Grand Junction. The next of kin is Marie Sanchez, the daughter of Arnofonso Sanchez. Karina had heard the conversation from the kitchen and then had come out to the living room. She too was as shocked as her mother. What's going on? She asked as she opened the door further and then stood next to her mom. You must be Karina Sanchez. Right, Barbara continued. Well. Yeah. And you have 2 children named Ronnie and Malachi. Barbara squeezed. Yeah. How did you know that? Karina asked out of shock. Then, as Karina and Marie stood there, in the doorway, another woman, and a child both climbed out of the car. As they approached Karina and Marie, the distinctive overgrown canines showed themselves from the child's mouth. Angel. Cindy spoke quietly to the child, this is your Aunt Marie. As the child looked up to Marie, he was also holding a suitcase in his hand that was painfully obvious to be too heavy for the boy. Ah. Angel, Karina said as she stepped out of the apartment door. Marie was in so much shock that she hadn't been able to even say anything. How about I take your suitcase for you, Karina said as she carefully took the case out of his hand. Then, just as it looked as though she was gonna walk back into the apartment, Karina paused as she looked back at Angel. Come on, Angel. I'll show you in while your Aunt Marie does the paperwork. You do prefer Angel, right? Yes, ma'am. The child responded. You can call me Aunt Karina. Okay? Karina responded as she walked past her mom and the social workers. Setting Angel's suitcase down in the living room, Karina led Angel into the kitchen as her mom went into the living room with the two ladies. Hey Angel. Would you like a drink? She asked as she watched the kid sit down. We have Coke. Yes please. Well. Have you always been this polite? Karina asked with a smile on her face. Closing the refrigerator door, with the soda in her hand, she walked back towards Angel listening for an answer. Well. I have my bad days. It was perhaps an hour and a half after Malachi, Ronnie, Eddie, Lucifer, Belinda, and Nicole had woken up. They were just finishing breakfast as Eddie had began to wash the dishes. Hey, Malachi said suddenly. Someone just pulled into the driveway. I wonder who would be here at this time of night? Eddie asked as he squirted some dish soap into the stream of water. It's Mom. Ron answered as he peeked through the living room window, and she's got someone. She's got a kid with her. As Ron continued to watch, he saw some young child having a problem closing the heavy doors to the Eagle Talon. Moments later, they were both headed up the steps towards the front steps. I wonder why she's out at this time of night. Heading directly down the steps, towards the door, Malachi wanted to be the first to meet his mother's guests. Immediately, Malachi opened the door to find his mom and another vampire. Standing there, without saying anything, both Angel and Malachi stood there just staring at one another. Ah. Malachi. Let us in. We've got some talking to do, Karina said to her eldest son. Then, as Malachi stepped down towards them from the top of the stairs. Angel. Give me your coat, hun. Moments later, as Karina, Malachi, and Angel all reached the top of the stairs, Ronnie, Eddie, Belinda, and Nicole only moved enough to allow Angel to pass by. Not to be rude, but rather out of shock as they came to the realization that they were not alone. Hey guys. Karina spoke up as she walked into the kitchen, let's all go into the living room. Immediately, without another word, everyone quickly gathered in the living room and sat down. Hi, Angel said to Ron as he sat down close to the newest member to the family. Hello. Ronnie responded. Okay guys. Here's what's up. Karina started, this here is Angel who is now gonna be living with us. He is related to us. He turned 13 on Halloween. As you can see he is one of us. And, between your dad and, your grandma Sanchez, and you guys, we need to house him. Preferably without bouncing him back and forth. Mom. Ronnie interrupted, Sterling's room. Well. Yeah. I didn't think of that one, Karina said. She truly had forgotten about the vacant room. She had gotten herself so much into the idea of leaving Sterling's room alone that she had completely forgotten about its existence. Well guys, listen. I'm sure that there are a lot of questions. Angel. Would you like to stay here tonight? Karina asked as she turned to face him. For tonight, it's gonna be up to you. You can decide rather if you wanna stay here, or go back with me. And Angel. Malachi interrupted, you would be more than welcome to stay. In fact we would like you to. We have video games here, along with board games. Then, until we have the downstairs bedroom set up for you, you can either sleep up here, on the couch, or he could throw down a blanket next to my bed. Eddie offered, or share my bed with me. As long as he sleeps on the outside, that is. See Angel, Karina continued, you're more than welcome. So, it's up to you. Here or my place. Or Marie's? I'll go ahead and stay here. These guys seem pretty cool, Angel said as he offered a little smile. As he said this, he looked at both, Malachi and Eddie, and then received reassurance smiles back from them. Well, that's it then, Angel. Tomorrow I'll bring your suitcase into town, or I'll have Dave bring it in on his way to work in the morning, Karina continued. Ronnie, Malachi, or Eddie. Do one of you guys have something that he can use for pajamas? They're probably way too big for him. Ronnie spoke up, being that his body was the smallest of the three. That's all right. Angel spoke up, I can sleep in my t-shirt and underwear. I guess that will work too. Karina commented, well, tell you what. After you guys have Angel moved into Sterling's old room, I'll take Angel shopping for more clothes. I can't be outside during the daytime, Angel said, I'll get. You're 13 already? Ronnie interrupted. Yeah. Angel answered, I turned 13 on October 31st. Well, I guess that the guys are gonna have to take you shopping at night time then, Karina said, I'll make sure that they have. Hey Mom. Malachi interrupted, we have plenty enough of money here to take care of him. Unless of course you would like to help. Malachi. I think that, at least for now, that we would all be better off putting in our individual share. Then, soon, we'll have a better idea of exactly how much of a financial difference there is gonna be. Then, as Karina stood up, she patted Angel on the shoulder. Well buddy, you have a good night. Okay. And, like I said, I'll bring your stuff tomorrow, or David will. Okay? Yes ma'am. It was about 7 weeks later, December 29th of 2022, that Belinda was set to begin her maternity leave from work. As she was about to walk out of the office, the event of her first maternity leave was also going to mark the date of her first ultrasound. She had previously scheduled one for the same day that Angel had arrived from Grand Junction. Not because of his arrival, but rather a large combination of many things had caused the delay in the appointment. It was planned, between Belinda and Ronnie, that she would pick Ronnie up from home right after work, and then together they would go to the appointment. This was more for sentimental purposes than anything else. It's just that between her and him both, they wanted to be with each other through the entire process. Earlier that week, Christmas, they had purchased, and received as gifts, enough to take any single child from birth until 24 months, worth of diapers and baby food. The unborn baby and Angel had received the most for Christmas. Of course, overall, everyone enjoyed their holiday. Walking into the Memorial Hospital, Ronnie and Belinda were, once again, looking at the same secretary and going through the same registration process. Then, once again, Ronnie filled out the paperwork as they waited patiently for their name to be called. It took about 20 minutes of sitting and reading National Geographic before Ronnie and Belinda were heading for an examination room. Right in here please. The woman said as she turned on the light. Dr. Redding will be with you guys soon. Thank you, Belinda said as the older women quickly walked out of sight. Well Ronnie. Belinda started as she laid down, today we'll know rather if we're having a boy or a girl. Then we can take all the money that we saved for clothes, and buy as many as we can. Yeah, Ron said as he leaned all the way back on the stool, then laid his lead back against the wall. With his head still touching the wall, he moved the stool, that was on wheels, further away from the wall, causing his field of vision to be more that of the ceiling rather than Belinda and the wall behind her. What would you prefer? A boy or a girl? I don't know, Belinda said as she thought about his question, there are different reasons to choose either way. A boy if you want carry on the Declue family name. A girl so that there would be a girl at home side by side with Lucifer. Either way really. Just so long as the baby is healthy. That's what I think, Ron agreed, as long as the baby is healthy, that's all that matters. Then, just as Ronnie completed his sentence, the exam room door popped open and then Dr. Redding walked in. Hi guys. Well, this is gonna be your next biggest day before the baby is born. Dr. Redding began to explain, normally, with this step, or most of the steps beyond this point even, we would have a midwife taking you through these steps. With you guys, however, as in the past, with your family, I wanna keep myself personally up close and on top of your family advances. Most likely you would probably rather that I was involved anyway. Nodding his head, as he agreed with Dr. Redding, Ron slightly stepped back out of the way as the doctor pulled a computer type of appliance close to Belinda. All right, Belinda. Go ahead and lay down. And, as we do this ultrasound, I'll explain, to both you and Ronnie, exactly what it is that I'm doing so that you'll understand everything that is happening. All right? Now Belinda, I'm gonna pull up your shirt here and pull the front of your sweatpants down just a little. Then, after he did exactly what he said he was gonna do, he opened a drawer as he pulled out a tube that read KY jelly on its side. As he then removed the cap, he put a big palm full, of a gloved hand, onto Belinda's bare belly. Ooh. That's cold, Belinda gasped quietly. Yeah, it is. Sorry that I didn't inform you of that part. The doctor said. Okay. Dr. Redding continued as he pulled out a piece of equipment that was attached to the machine by a harness of wires, now on this monitor. Pointing to a screen on the machine, we will see the image of the baby as I run this instrument along Belinda's belly. With this image we will be able to identify the baby's sex, its legs, arms, and the head. Sometimes we can even identify more than those. As the doctor continued to explain the procedures involved in the ultrasound, Ron began to closely watch the monitor as the doctor picked up the wand. As the doctor placed the end of the wand to Belinda's belly, an image popped onto the screen as the doctor had simultaneously began to point at the screen. Now, if you look closely here. Pausing for a moment, the doctor put his face closer to the monitor as he continued to point. If you look close enough here, Ron, you can see this rhythm of pulsating image. It is the baby's heart. Then, as he moved the wand to the other side of Belinda's belly, he continued, now look here. You can see the baby's legs and another heartbeat? What do you mean another heartbeat? Ronnie interrupted. Then, as he asked his question, Ronnie also looked closer, moving his face right in front of the monitor. Well guys. We have 2 hearts here, 4 legs, 4 arms, and 2 heads. Then, as the doctor looked even closer to the monitor, and Ronnie and Belinda staring at each other, the doctor continued, and this here is a boy. And this is a girl. As Dr. Redding was speaking, he was pushing a button that was also making copies of the image onto a piece of paper that was coming out on the side of the machine. Guys. You have twins. Between what they were hearing, what they were seeing, and the shock involved in hearing about this news, Ronnie and Belinda held hands and were both close to tears as they continued to stare at the end of the doctor's right index finger. After about 2 hours, Ronnie and Belinda were headed home with their ultrasound images in their hands. Rather than being made out of paper, of which it looks like from a distance, it was made out of an actual photo that the machine had instantly made. As they pulled into the driveway, with Ronnie behind the wheel, Ron and Belinda had decided that they had to call and make the ultrasound results known to Karina and David both. Hello? David said as he picked up the phone. Hey Dad. This is Ronnie. Hi Ronnie. How are you guys doing? Good. We just got back from having this ultrasound done, Ron continued. Well, great. So how did it turn out? David and Karina had all been wishing real hard that they knew the sex of the unborn child so that they would be able to participate in buying clothes. Well Dad. What would be the next best thing to knowing what kind of clothes that we can buy? Ronnie asked. I don't know. What are you talking about, Ronnie? Well, let's put it this way, Dad. We need clothes for him and her. Twins, David yelled real loud. Karina. We are having twins. As David continued to hold the phone to his ear, he began to lightly jump in place like as if he was a child getting a most wanted gift. Karina. We are having twins. As David continued to scream, Ron pulled the phone away from his head. Across the opposite end of the kitchen, Belinda could hear David's cheers. As she listened, her smile grew larger than what it already was. With hers, Ronnie's smile also grew. Then, as he was able to recognize his mother's voice, he placed the phone back to his ear, almost challenging his father's volume. Hey Ronnie. You there, honey? Karina asked. Yeah. I'm here, Mom. Ron answered. Well, congratulations, Ronnie. I'm happy for you guys. I'm gonna call and talk to your grandma, okay? Okay, Mom. We'll talk to you later, Ron said and then disconnected the call.